This is Maria from the Madison Area Public Library. We're here with Patricia. She is going to be our first indie author for our Indie Author Day event today. So we're going to get to know about her, where we can find a lot of her work, get to know what makes her interested in writing, what inspires her. And yeah, if you guys have any questions, feel free to leave a comment below this video. We could always filter to Patricia because we're going to basically help engage everybody to be excited to be writers, get to start writing, and how to start yourself in the field of independent writing. So Patricia, first slide we have is just all about you. Tell us how long you've been writing, some of your favorite things to write about, and just a little bit about where you're from and so forth.
Hi, thanks for having me. I am originally from Kentucky. I currently live in Alabama, which is not that far from Kentucky, but still too far for me. I'm kind of a homebody. I've been writing probably since I knew how, starting with My Little Pony stories, the original back in the 80s.
That's so good. I love that series.
And now I've sort of evolved from that. I read a lot of fantasy, a little bit of horror, tiny bit of science fiction. Not a lot, but I kind of stick to the unholy trinity of genres.
Yeah, those are kind of my top genres too. I really love scary stories and sci-fi and paranormal fiction, so definitely up my alley. What interests you into becoming a writer? So what kind of sparked that interest in you?
Like I said, I've always told stories ever since I was a little kid, and I always wrote, but it never occurred to me that I could actually make a career out of it until I was in college. So I've always been writing. I only really started looking into seriously being published when I was in college, and that's been about 20 years now. So still working on it.
Long journey though. So did you always see yourself becoming a writer? Was there a profession that you started off with before becoming a writer?
No, originally I wanted to be a unicorn.
Magical.
Then later on, I moved into, a variety of different jobs that I wanted to do. But once I got out of high school, I realized that that was what I really enjoyed. I've worked a lot of different retail jobs, office jobs, but the writing was always the consistent thing. And so now I'm really glad that at the moment I'm able to do it full time.
That's awesome. Congrats on that. I love that. So what inspires your writing? Is there a specific author that you like, movies, something that you read that kind of like gives you the spark to create your own world?
I'm a huge fan of mythology and folklore. I'm devoted to Joseph Campbell. A lot of what I write is either retellings of folktales or definitely inspired by them in some way. And I use folklore from all over the world. So I don't have there's not a lot of consistency in what I write, just because I have such an interest in a broad range of things, and they all kind of end up in my writing at some point.
That's a large genre. Is there any specific country or folklore that you like the most?
I've done a few. Probably the most are from Japanese mythology.
I love
just
those.
Because it's very different from anything that you're going to see in Europe. But more recently, I'm working on something based in Celtic folklore.
Nice. I love Japanese. It's very meaningful, very strong feelings behind some of their folklores and what things have happened. Yeah, definitely love that. Do you remember the first story you ever read?
Oh, gosh. No, I can tell you the first one. I've been writing stories for a long time, and I've had a lot that were published in journals or magazines or what have you. My first book was actually a novella collection that came out in 2015 from DSP Publications. So yeah, it's only been about 5 years that I've seriously been putting out books, but I've had a lot of short stories published before that.
That's cool. I love this question. Is there a novel or story that you wish you could have written? Like, I wish I could have wrote Harry Potter, or I wish I could have wrote Star Wars.
Yeah, I think we all wanted to write Harry Potter. Yeah, really, the one that I always think of when people ask this is Margot Lanigan, an Australian author, wrote a short story called The Goosel. That's Goosel, if you want to look it up. It's sort of a sequel to Hansel and Gretel, and it's an absolutely exquisite story, and it was very controversial when it came out because it's also very brutal in many ways. A lot of the content is. But the way that she was able to express all of this brutality with this utterly exquisite writing style and storytelling is really admirable, and I would have loved to write something like that.
That's cool. Look that up, people. Sounds good. What are the challenges to become being an independent author that you would say?
Gosh. When I started, it's only 2 years now I've been doing my own independent publishing, and I had to learn everything. I'm not a graphic designer. I didn't know how to format. Yeah, so it was a huge learning curve. I've had to learn how to format, how to write blurbs, how to do cover designs, how to work with Amazon, which can kind of be a pain sometimes.
Hmm.
Marketing is probably the worst. I think most authors will say the same thing.
Hmm.
Um, but it's all, you just have to really put the energy into it and do the work and learn all of it. And then you end up with a lot of other good skills and a finished book. So it's definitely worth it, but it is a lot of work.
Is there anything that you can advise for those challenges? Did you look on YouTube? Was there a group of writers on social media that helped you through this process, or did you just do your own research?
Now, there's quite a few. Hugh Howey he started out as an independent author, and then his books got picked up. Wool is the first one in his trilogy, and he has a whole blog for indie authors with
Nice.
loads and loads of advice, which has been really helpful. Also, the writing community on Twitter, people there are generally really, really happy to help you, and a Facebook group called 20 Words to 50K.
Nice.
So those guys are really helpful with the marketing aspect. But there's a lot of advice out there, and there's a lot of people who are really willing to help. You just have to look for it.
Awesome. Thank you. And there's always benefits to being indies. You always kind of have the freedom to do your own things. What would you say in your journey? What is the benefits of being an independent author?
I've actually been traditionally published before, so I can look at it from both perspectives. Being an indie author, you get complete creative control. You don't have to compromise on anything. It's always good to take advice and sort of take that feedback into account. But I know that if I succeed, then it's because of my hard work. And if I fail, then it's because I failed. I don't have anybody else that is coming in and working on this stuff that, could be another factor in whether I succeed or not.
It's
So I
very
know it's
true.
all on me, which is really intimidating too and overwhelming sometimes, but it's also a good thing, I think.
Yeah, because a lot of times when I was talking to Brian K, our mutual friend, he's always saying that you can always grow your own fan base, your own support, and it's sometimes a little bit more different if you're independent versus somebody under an umbrella of publishing companies and things like that. I think you feel like you're more connected to your audience. But
Right,
yeah,
and I'm the type A personality, so I really like being able to do everything myself.
that's exactly how I am. So I totally can relate to that. Where do you hope to see your writing in the next 10 years?
Hopefully on bookshelves in stores.
Yeah.
Maybe on a talk show that's really popular. I would like to expand my audience, get more of my books out there. I'm a really slow writer because I write by hand. So I'm attempting to complete at least a couple of novellas or one novel a year from here on out. So hopefully I'll have a nice big stack of books, be able to expand my fan base and just kind of be where I am now, just more so.
Yeah. Question. You said you write by hand. I know a lot of artists that are just really against digital art too. Is it just something more you feel more connected to your work as you do if you write by hand?
No, I would love to be able to write on the computer because it's so much faster. But if I sit down in front of a screen, my brain just goes blank. It's
Yeah.
really strange. I have to have a pen and paper to write the first draft. After that, I can type it up, print it out, edit it, type it all up again. But the first draft has to be written down by hand.
Okay. I mean, everybody has their way of doing their things though, so it's definitely cool. Any advice that you would give to like new and up and coming writers through your journey?
I would say there's only one way to succeed, and that's to sit down and write. I hear a lot of people say, I want to write, but I don't have the time, or I don't know how, or, you're going to learn how. You're going to suck at first. Everybody does. The only way to get better is to sit down and do it.
Yeah, definitely. Any other little tidbits you want to mention about where you can find your books, anything you're working on, a little bit more about yourself, a website?
Sure. All of my books are available on Amazon through the Kindle store or as paperbacks. Most of them are on Kindle Unlimited too, if that's something that you have. Let's see, I'm on Twitter. It's author P. Correll, and also on Facebook and Instagram and all of the social media stuff. You can find me on any of those. But yeah, most of my books you can get through Amazon, and I think that's about it.
Okay, no, that's
I
totally
think I'm very
fine.
interesting, actually. So
No, you give a lot of great tips. That's what it's all about, because everybody has different stories in their journey for writing, just like art. And we really appreciate you. Thank you, Patricia, for taking the time to do this for our library. Anybody has any questions, you definitely, like I said, you can leave it in the comments below our video. All the link to Patricia's work will be at the end of this video, so you can find all her great creations there. And please look at her stuff. Thank you so much for doing this today.
thank you. And everybody, feel free to find me on social media. I'll be happy to talk.
Awesome.